Listen close, we rise up from the ashes, digging for the truth, breaking old habits. We marching with the nesters, they laid the foundation, passed down revelation, sparked our motivation. In a world of facades, we peeling back the layers. Truth is the weapon that cuts through all the fakers. Phonets in our chest, reborn from deception. Eyes wide open, no room for misdirection. Every step we take, we honor the connection between past and present, forging our resurrection. Phoenix rises in truth, setting us free from the lies that they feed. We reclaim our beliefs, thinking differently, we'll break every chain. We dance for freedom, case by case, again. We cultivate vision, planting seeds of awareness, challenge the narrative, break out of the harness, digging deep for knowledge, unearthing the hidden. Our minds are the soil where the future is written, no longer confined by the scripts they prescribe. We write our own story, let the real one subscribe. One voice becomes many, together we rally. Freedom's not a concept, it's a move and a tally. Case, we break the cage. Thought by thought, we shift the stage. Phoenix rises in truth, setting us free from the lies that they feed. We reclaim our beliefs, thinking differently, we'll break every chain. We dance for freedom, case by case, again. Rise up, speak out, watch the new world breathe.
Brian has been essentially convicted in the media. He has a right to have this information withheld, brought out in public, so that people can see it's not this neat little package. So people can start to wonder if Brian's innocent. Your Honor, Brian is innocent. So if I talk about things that are in the affidavit, and if I talk about things that we're seeking that the state wants to hide, I think that's fair game for the public to hear.
Well, good morning, everyone. It is so good to be back here again and to see you on this Tuesday morning. I hope every single one of you is doing amazing. So, tell me, is it cold where you're at? I mean, like cold? I see a lot of people in the nest today. And Les, whoop, whoop, became a member. And, you know, as becoming a member, you have access to the member-only videos. I did drop another one last night. There are a few in there. And I feel like when I have something that no one else has, I'll drop it in as a member and then change it over later. So as a member, you get access to those videos first, all that great information. So hopefully if you do decide to become a member, whoop, whoop, give a shout out, and you will start beginning to, as of this afternoon, I'm so excited. You will have new member badges. You will have 1 month badges. You will have all kinds of amazing badges. I'm so thrilled about it. And they are custom. So keep a lookout for that this afternoon. I'm very excited about that. Critic Rick in the house. Les was late. I saw her walking in. He is going to take roll call from now on. Critic Rick, who thinks Those involved in the case, like MPD or prosecution team, will be indicted. As more and more documents become unsealed, Hope Payne has a good lawyer from Disney Realm. Well, unfortunately, the law can lie to us if it's a matter of security, national security, and they do not have immunity in some cases. But prosecution, yeah, I don't know about that. They can be investigated, but like I said, if they retire or go somewhere else, um, I'm just shocked. And remember, there was one officer that was publicly not named, but known to be under investigation in this case. So, just on a whim, real quick, starting off this amazing Tuesday morning, do me a favor. Who do you think, if you followed this case from a very long time, from the beginning to the end, or you just started following this case, who do you think, by chance, pure speculation, my legal disclaimer is up, I am revving to go this morning, who do you think could possibly have been that officer within the Moscow Police Department that was being investigated? Drop your thoughts below as I get my sip of coffee. Yes, I did. I absolutely did. And let's see, I've been hearing a lot of theories by creators, but none have mentioned how any are done. It's also flip-flopping. It's funny. Well, you got to look at the documents. The paper trail take us down the right road. Remember, I am independent here. I am not like some of the other creators that you see that have a big agency backing, that are putting bots in their chat, that get a lot of likes and hypes and views. I am a small creator, independent. I am just like a lot of you. Curious, questionable, and remember, I question the unthinkable. If no one else is thinking about it, I'm going to question it. I'm not afraid to say it. And and if that's to be accountable to, so be it. I'll be accountable. But you know what, I have never not given you any facts, because I go off of documents that they give us that tell us the story. Now, does it tell us the full story? Absolutely not. I think there's way more to this story, and we're going to get into some of that today. If you haven't seen Busted, Maddie's Blood, you're going to learn a little bit about where Maddie's blood was found per the evidence forensic files. And we're going to talk about Kohberger, because this case has centered all around him and they don't want us to talk about him. Well, honey, he's married to this case because he was brought into this case, and they're angry because we're talking about him. But this guy is factually innocent. So we'll continue to talk until they throw some evidence at us, hardcore evidence that he is indeed guilty. And I'm not talking about some simple car seat with a tiny speck of blood, which I will be talking about today. So let's keep going down the line. Hello, Lulu Bell. Rick, those in USA, Serbia, Moscow will not face indictment any more than the past scammers in the White House last term will face any legal ramifications. Lulu Bell, you get the top dog of the day in my nest. I'll give you a worm. You get the worm of the day in our nest, because that is such a freaking true statement. I believe that. I believe it. Caleb, Amanda be in the house, Les, my trusty mods. I appreciate them, and I have got a surprise in store for you. Stay tuned. Nestor's good to see you. Caleb, love all this. 7-minute warning. You guys are amazing. You are absolutely amazing. You are my cup of tea. Remember to be cheerful in chat, keeping it classy when possible, and hit that button. Yeah, hit that button. Hit that button. A lot of people don't know that 11 o'clock is free for all, basically. Free for all. And let's be really cautious about not bashing any other creators. I know they are out there bashing me. I don't want to bash anyone. Let them talk their talk, walk their walk, and when they fall, they will fall hard. So let them chit chat. It's Inked Mama. Just like to sneak that with in here because the spelling was taken. Inked Mama. So tell me, Ink Mama, do you have a sleeve? Do you have a few? maybe 1 or 2. I mean, I've got 7 tattoos. Believe it or not, yes, Phoenix was spicy back in the military days. And I have 1 real tattoo, and the rest were, you know, I tattooed my eyeliner, my eyes, if those count. Yes, and thank you, Caleb. Justice for All for the latest doc drops. It is a simple, easy way to get all the documents linked quick. And it's not just for the Idaho 4 case. This is for every single one of us. If you ever find yourself in a jam, now remember, we don't give any legal advice, but if you ever find yourself in a jam and you want us to get your information out quickly, support from the locals, from our community here, definitely Justice for FOURALL, and all that information is right there for you at your fingertips. So let's see, what else do we got going on? 2-minute warning. You guys are amazing. And the latest ISP drop, blood swabs Maddie's location. Yes, we will talk about that. You got an OGer in the house. Left YouTube change. You never let it. Oh, you guys are funny. Rebecca, welcome in. Welcome in. Let's go. Caleb Phoenix pulled out the bangers. Okay, so, and feel free to let the ads play before joining the stream for free channel support. Absolutely, Caleb, we do appreciate that. If you let the ads play before jumping back in, you're not going to miss anything. I guarantee you, your ghetto side is coming out. Oh, come on out. Someone said they had to feel their gangster was coming out, so they had to hide their wallet. From line dancing to side swept. Yeah, new month, new music. So every month I'm going to have a new beginning, so don't miss that. And on special occasions, special streams, I do have a special music. So 57 where you're at, not too bad. Marissa, got your email yesterday. We are working on it. I've got something coming for the nesters, talking about other locations and what's going on in the local area in Michigan. Warm in Florida, 66. Let's roll. I hear you guys. I'm back. Was eating lunch. Hope you had a good brunch lunch. Amanda, don't forget to hit that button. Yeah, and you know what? Every single donation helps. It goes to the website, it goes to the maintenance, it goes to making sure that that is up every single month. I think it's possible if it was deliberately done to suppress or destroy evidence. Absolutely. Absolutely. Unqualified immunity can be denied in some cases. Absolutely. I agree, Caleb. But I think this case is so huge. They are protecting someone. And I believe, as everybody is talking and writing that down, I believe Rosendahl, you don't see any of his reports here. And there's a reason why. And I think that he was probably the one, speculative, obviously, in that police department that was being investigated. So you don't hear much about Rosendahl. We don't see much in the reports, and we think that they have hidden something from us. But that doesn't mean that he was involved in this atrocity, guys. It just means that they've removed him for some past or present at the time back then situation they didn't want out. You know, like Stickergate, if y'all are aware of what happened in Stickergate. Idaho is wishy-washy with their inconsistent stories. I believe so. And you know what? People are connected. If something happened, and you know my theory, I'll reiterate it again. This is pure speculation and theory. I think something bad happened, and somebody called the powers that be within the frats and the sororities, and they called Green called, the powers that be called somebody else higher. They had to find a fall guy. They looked around from police department to police department, past records, past similar situations. They had to blame it on somebody because they were not going to blame it on their own. And they actually said that in a press conference. We are so glad it's not one of ours. Okay? That's what gives it away. Let them talk enough and you'll figure out exactly what they're hiding. So, Lulubelle, and did you know what happened today? No. Every term is corrupt. I know that it is voting day in the mid-election primaries in a lot of countries, in a lot of counties and states. So most of my body is covered. Oh, wow. Wow. That's not cheap, man. Getting inked is not cheap. I've got friends that have sleeves. I've got friends that have half an arm. It is not cheap. You want to talk about dropping some money on ink? It's expensive. Especially if you're getting non-toxic ink, that's even more expensive. God held war criminal accountable today. No, I didn't see that. Tattoos are life. Yeah, my husband keeps saying he's going to get one. I doubt it. He's got virgin skin. So, and I can't get any more because my autoimmune issues too. So you're not alone there. I have 3 after the U.S. Air Force. Well, thank you so much for your service. Pretty sweet pea. I love that name. It brings a smile to my face. My skin wouldn't heal right. Yeah, my doctor keeps telling me I can't tattoo my eyebrows anymore. And so, people make fun of me, but that's okay. Dick Cheney, rest in peace. I did not hear that yet. Caleb, thank you for bringing us that news. Have not heard it. Hola, Lisa. Justice is served. And I hear you. I found out auto emissions after I got mine. Yeah, 30 years later, I figured I can't get any more either. Oh man, ink last year, were you able to get yours? I want some so bad. I have premium. I don't get ads. Yeah, that's a really good point, Amanda. If you subscribe to premium, you won't get ads. But hit the thumbs up, watch the video or at least halfway through it, and then skip on. Beautiful day in South Carolina, 65 and sunny. Castor oil to heal my tattoos, and it works like magic. Never had an issue with healing. That is a great idea. Castor oil is amazing. Emu oil, and I think they have that BioSil oil too. That's really good too. But if you don't have a natural alternative, if you've never heard of arnica gel, it is absolutely amazing for any bruising, scratches, and it has a little mild pain reliever in there. And as a matter of fact, I have some. It's arnica bruise gel. It helps pain, swelling, discoloration, and it's actually made by Bjorn. So that is another option. So let's do this. Welcome, welcome everyone. Doing some research. Hello, hello. You guys have got an amazing tat. Big Red, you win Tattoo Queen of the Century. Over 200 tattoos. Wow. Girl, you probably got a walking house. You could have paid for a house with all those tattoos. Unless you're married to a tattoo artist or you do some type of trade. Oh, that is amazing. Emu oil. I use those too. Oh, I have to look that up. Woo, Big Red. Big Red is the winner. Tattoo Queen of the Century. Okay, so my grandson spends so much time on tats. Oh, spends. I can imagine. They are. Oh, my ex was an artist. I knew it. I knew it had to have been something like that. Although when I was in Japan, I didn't get a tattoo there. We when I was in boot camp on boot camp weekend, the first weekend, some of my girlfriends and I, we went down to Mexico, obviously. And in Tijuana, she got a flamingo tattoo on her ankle. I was really leery. I didn't want to go back home and have my mom say, "Oh my God, you got a tattoo." So I waited a good long time before I decided to get a tattoo. And I think I was in my late 30s when I got my first tattoo. And it's evolved since then. So yeah, I only have 19 tattoos. Well, hey, bring them on. And if you guys got any good pictures of tattoos, send me a picture. I'll share them here. I love to see other people's creative skills, especially a good tattoo. So let's do this. Let's get into it today. I'm sure you guys are all here, all ready to go. And there's a few things I wanted to talk about. I know that, some people have groveled about my decision to put some videos out there on members only. And, just really quick, there is a video that I did put up last night that a lot of people have not seen yet, that I'm going to give you the opportunity to see since you are here on live. And obviously I'll edit later, but I'm going to do it for you guys because you guys are so amazing. So here is, yeah, Tijuana was back in the days. Grammy Tammy has 5 tattoos. You win Grammy of the Year. Had no idea. See? Oh, I love my people. I love my tribe. Let's do this. Let's watch this video real quick and let's get on to it. Welcome every single one of you into the hive, into the nest. Sorry, I'm used to being part of the hive. We are part of the hive. We're the nesters. And, you know, I just wanted to highlight one person today real quick before we begin. And that is our sweet friend, Marissa. You know, she was having some struggles with her mom. We were in agreement in the vibe and healing and prayers with her for her mom to get whatever her mom needed. And she did. She did within the next day. Prayers were answered. You know, ask and you shall receive. I fully believe that. And we are just continuing prayers for Marissa and her mom. And I'm going to bring you a little bit more of that story tomorrow for you. I'm going to get some more information and we're going to share something that a lot of people need to be aware of. So I put out this video, and this is a video on the ISP reports, IDAHO4. This is actually not the video that I want to use. I want to use this one. Hold on. I did put it on my subscription only on TikTok. And believe me, I got some bad feedback on that too, but that's okay. And let me grab it real quick for you. And it is subscription only. So let me go back over there. Let me pull this up. And this was, you know what, I'll just use this one. This one is the blood DNA swab result. Can you believe this? Yes, I do read these reports and I put things together in these reports. And this is probably the worst one that I have had to bring in this case that is factual. Maddie Mogen's DNA was found on the 3rd floor banister rail, which means, as we all have solidified and confirmed, they were not all sleeping in their beds. The narrative that we have been fed is a lie. In my humble opinion, looking at the documents that they have given us, the public. This document right here specifies item 24 is in fact Maddie Mogen's on the banister rail inside 1122 King Road. Now, I always put my facts at the end of the videos, so you have to read for yourself. I will give you all the documents. You just have to read. You don't have to believe me. You just have to read for yourself and look into it. Now, I know a lot of people are busy. I know that you don't have time to go through these documents, but there are people like me, for balance and checks, hold people accountable to make sure that we are getting the factual information. And I am floored that this information was well known to the prosecutors, to the lab, to the managers, to the people who run the DNA lab. Yes, they knew the story as it was unfolding was not the official narrative that we were given. They knew. They knew. And they knew way before even Kohberger's DNA was not there. And yet they still arrested him and charged him. I have not seen any factual information that Brian Kohberger is guilty. Still none to this day. This could have been you, your brother, your mother, your sister, your husband, your wife, a family member, a close loved one, a friend. This could have happened to any one of them. And it's a sad day in our justice system where somebody has to take a plea deal to spare their life and choose prison for life. Now, I hope someone comes forward and gives us factual information he's guilty, or perhaps a witness will step forward. There were plenty of witnesses that called into the FBI and said that Brian Kohberger was innocent. That Brian Kohberger was in fact innocent. It blows my mind that everyone turned the other way and believed the nationwide news and other people sharing a false narrative. What have we come to in our society that we can change the outcome of a case by spreading misinformation? What have we become? You know the drill. I'll keep sharing. Be well. Okay, so I was under the assumption, and I did believe, that Maddie may have been the only one that was sleeping during this whole case, this whole debacle. And it broke my heart reading the documents that basically said, no, item 24 was submitted swab, a blood swab from the upper floor banister, which means she was outside of her bedroom, outside of her bed. And it breaks my heart. And exactly, Caleb, that's how I was feeling when I read this document the other day. Now, mind you, I stood awake reading through these, skimming through these, going through these documents, taking the most important facts out. And it's not like I can share them all at once. I've had to break it down in little digestible information. And it's hard to see some of this stuff. It is very hard to even share some of this stuff. Some things I won't even share. I'll just let other people share them because it is sensitive information. And do I want to be that person? No, I don't want to be that person. But sometimes I do find things that I'm like, somebody has to know because no one's talking about it. And so, yes, misinformation. I thought Maddie was the only one that could be asleep too. And she was either up moving around, she fought, or not, strong enough to fight. Or the only other thing that I could think of that my mind goes to, if you really think about this, okay, if we really think about this, either Maddie was fighting, either Maddie was trying to run away upstairs or downstairs. And I don't know if it would be upstairs to her bed or downstairs to get away, or she was carried and blood dripped on the banister. Those are the only places that my mind goes to. Yes, she did have blood under her nails. That was already, a given in the reports. There's blood under each of the victims' nails. We looked at the fingernails and the other day, and you see that. It could have been transferred to whoever was traveling downstairs. Well, here's the problem. It could have been transfer, absolutely, if they were walking down the stairs and touched the banister. But remember, this was not a mixture. This was actually only her DNA. And 2 of them were fully dressed. 2 of them were not. Ethan was totally naked, except for one sock. And, Xana did have a sweatshirt and underwear on. So it is hard to hear something like this. So whenever I say something, obviously I give information to back it up. And these were the documents associated with that. The DNA, I know it's kind of small to read, but the DNA obtained from item 24 matches previously obtained from the known reference sample of Maddie Mogen. This DNA profile is at least 2.56 octillion times more likely to be seen if Maddie Mogen is the source rather than some randomly unrelated individual in the general population. And the next document is the actual evidence description, item 24, swab submitted from upper floor banister. And then obviously the next document is the actual, nope, I didn't put it in there. Let's grab it real quick.
Can you believe this?
Let's grab this document right here. So item 24 was submitted. Oh, this one's bigger. Hold on. You can read this better. 24 was submitted from the upper floor banister. And then if you go item 24 again, it's going to give us the whole details and the document that the analysis test. They actually forward a portion of item 24 for DNA analysis to just double check and make sure their report was accurate. Item 24, here it is, tested positive, and it basically says, and where, and I got a lot of, oh, it's her DNA. She lived on the 3rd floor. Of course, her DNA is going to be there. No, this was in fact a blood swab. You can see it right here. This is the item that MPD sent over to them. And right here, blood swab. Okay. So it does say 22M09903, item 35, blood swab from upper floor banister stairs right here. And it sent it over. It remained positive, and they kept it on file. They retained it. And that was on the 23rd of November, 2022. So when you go through these documents, it is so important to understand, to match up the actual what do I want to say? The biostatistics, the actual document that comes back with the certified testing, bioanalysis, that's what I mean. So when we look at something like this, it makes me think, well, what other hidden information is in here? It wasn't just a trace DNA, it was a blood swab, and I just showed you that it was a blood swab. Could the blood transfer from the knife or the suspect's clothes? That's a really great question, True Crime Savage. When you have something of this, caliber, you have to think of the scenarios. If the blood from a knife was, dripping, or the drops that we saw on the floor, okay, because you don't see, and let me bring up those pictures. I don't really want to show the profile pictures from the ISP on the photos, but since you bring up a good question, you have to look and think logically. Okay, let me grab those photos real quick. If you think logically and you look at the photos and you think, oh my gosh, remember in that bedroom, in those photos, there was blood drippings. And I don't personally know if, this was one of those drippings or drops. This drop could have led up to the stairs. I think it was in the first batch they released. So let me grab the first batch. Hold on. And yeah, here it is. Let me grab this. I'm going to put it up on the screen so you can see this. So it paints a different picture for me on how did those blood spots get into Maddie's bedroom on the floor, because there were just a few drops, right? So if you see these railings coming up to the 3rd floor, and it just doesn't describe very well where, it just clearly said the banister of the 3rd floor. So whether was it to the right, was it to the left? Is Maddie right-handed? Is Maddie left-handed? I mean, all of those things come into play when you look at these documents and you're thinking, okay, where was the blood drop? Because if you remember, Gunderson walked up these stairways with no gloves. What if he smeared the blood? What if we just don't know? But if it was blood transfer from the knife or the suspect's clothes, you would be able to have some type of blood smear or some description, which leads me to what I'm going to show you next, hidden in the documents that were just released. But when you remember seeing Maddie's bedroom, there are drops of blood in the doorway. I don't know where exactly it is in here, so bear with me. If you do remember the blood drops in the bedroom that they showed. He was on the newspaper, from the newspaper guys. Hold on. Let me just see if I could see IDAHO4. And they've redacted a lot of this. Now they won't let us see any images from the room with the new protection order. So I don't even know if they're still releasing information, pictures, documents. But the first set of documents that we got that were blurred out of Maddie's room, there were blood spots in the room when you first walk in. And now I'm not seeing hardly any of them. Hold on. Let me go to this Daily Mail. I know they had quite a bit of pictures. Okay, here we go. Let's see if it's in this one. It was right where her clothes and her boots were, and on the floor. I don't know if it's in this. No, it's not. Shoot. But you know what I mean. I think a lot of us have seen it in the pictures. So hopefully that helps. But, you know, I don't know if it was from the knife or the suspect's clothes. They would have to be pretty drenched for it to be in the clothes. And for the knife, I don't know if it would have other blood droppings if it was from the knife, because allegedly it was Maddie and Kaylee in that room. So this was solely just Maddie's DNA. I haven't seen any evidence of a chase. You're correct. Dylan never said anything, and she's the only eyewitness in the house. She was the only admitted that Kaylee was dancing and was running up and down the stairs saying someone was there. May have tried, because remember, accidents happen in those neck of the woods. Possibly could have dripped off the knife. If it had dripped off the knife, there probably would have been a mixture of Maddie and Kaylee, but correct, it wasn't a mixture. Ken Jr., I'd like to know the truth. Wouldn't we all like to know the truth? Kaylee had one sock. Ethan had both, I believe. Thank you for that clarification. Octillion, yeah. You are so smart, not worth the pain of being ripped out. Yeah, Amanda's amazing. I know it wasn't a mix, but the person who killed Maddie first went after Kaylee and could have dropped the weapon in her DNA. True. That's actually true. I hate to think that she was running. Amanda, I thought Ethan was naked. I heard the socks, but I'm behind. He was naked. I don't know if he had one or both socks on. Question. Can I file for the whole case FOIA with the website right for any cases anywhere? Yeah, so you can file a whole FOIA for any case. You go directly to the reporting agency, whoever covered the case, and you can ask anywhere. Most websites have FOIA request websites. Most of them are all electronic now, unless you get into your really small towns. Typically, they require you in some areas to be in person to request records. They want to know who they're working with. So that is one of them. That's just a freedom of information, non-redacted. You know, they redact for privacy, and they have that right. DJ Kitty. What did DJ Kitty ask? Question. Can I file? Absolutely. Sorry, I didn't see that question earlier. A little late. Be good. Hey, Haley. Good to see you. Idaho has quirky law and whatever they're about. You know what? Every single state has different laws, especially on privacy. If something, and this is just that I've learned in the last, 20 years, is that if a crime takes place in a bedroom, most likely you're not going to be getting that information. And it reminds me of the girl in, I believe, Georgia, who unalived her mother in her own bedroom. And they wouldn't release anything of that due to privacy, because it was in a private area in the house, and that was the bedroom. So I can understand what the law is and respect that. But of course, people want to know. It's so much different if something happened out in public, right? You'd be able to get all the documents. You'd be able to get all the crime scene photos. Here, they're probably trying to say, and they did. They definitely got a protection order. And they said, no, we want to stay protected because there are some things here that we want to remain private, not just their bodies, if their bodies were undressed, but to the fact that, some of their items in the room could have been protected. So I've got a lot to cover today. I want to cover and bring to you guys. So on Maddie's door as well, there was blood drops. Yes, absolutely. Have you guys seen the photos of Maddie and Kaylee's pillows, all the red stuff? No, we have not. And I don't know if they have ever really released Maddie and Kaylee's. I did see Xana and Ethan. Those are the cleanest white walls. I'm a house painter. I'm so impressed with this being a college house. Girls, believe it or not, girls are messy. We did have a theory that maybe somebody painted. Allegedly. No evidence of a chase, but because they cleaned up. Yeah. I'm so glad you just said that misinformation, because I had a thought. I'm going to get sidetracked for a minute. You guys are going to have to bear with me and listen to this timeline. Okay? I want you to really listen. Just, I was in the shower and a thought came to my mind and I was like, wow. Okay? Now listen. The pending death certificates at the grand jury hearing. There was a grand jury hearing and they were pending death certificates. Okay? So stay with me. I'm going to show you a document real quick that I came across and it got me thinking. This is really interesting. So WITF put this out there, and this was in May 17, 2023. Okay. And they say grand jury indicts PA man in 4 University of Idaho stabbing deaths, eliminated need for hearing. Okay. So I'm thinking to myself, why would they need to eliminate a hearing? So listen to what this says. Okay. A grand jury has indicted a man who was already charged in the stabbing deaths. Yes. A grand jury. Let me read that again, because then you guys are going to be like, what? A grand jury has already indicted a man in regards to 4 deaths, allowing prosecutors to skip a planned week-long preliminary hearing that was set for late June. Now, Brian Kohberger was arrested late last year and charged with burglary and 4 counts of first-degree murder in connection with the killings of Xana, Ethan, Maddie, and Kaylee at a rental home near the University of Idaho campus. At the time, Kohberger was a graduate student studying criminology at the nearby Washington State University, and the killing left those close-knit communities of Moscow, Idaho, and Pullman, Washington, reeling. Okay, so I'm going to link this. I'm going to share this link in the chat in case anybody of you wants to read it or bookmark this. And basically says a preliminary hearing, this is a pre-hearing, where prosecutors must show a judge that there is enough evidence to justify moving forward with felony charges, had been scheduled to begin in June. But on Tuesday, a grand jury indicted Kohberger on the same criminal charges, effectively rerouting the case directly to the state's felony court and allowing prosecutors to skip the preliminary hearing process. Well, what does that mean? What exactly does this mean? Okay. What do you think this means? Let me just get your thoughts. What do you think? I want to get, they took away preliminary, yeah, and then the right for a speedy trial plea deal. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Or he was on the inside. And this is what this article means. Okay, I'm going to spell it out real quick. Okay, so a grand jury, this basically means, remember in the state document that we just looked at last week, we've been looking at this document for a while. Where'd you go? Hello, hold on a minute. States exhibit list. Let me pull it up real quick. States exhibit list, and let me show you this. Okay, remember when we came across this and we were like, what in the what is going on? Here it is. The death certificates at the time of the grand jury, exhibit 24, 26, 20, and 22. Okay, now they put these in a specific order, which gave me the speculation of who died first. Ethan was first, then Xana, then Maddie, then Kaylee, because those are the exhibits. And when you go and present exhibits, you have to have them in order. And whatever they said to the grand jury is this. 1, Ethan and Xana were at a party. And this is all speculation. This is how they would present it to the grand jury. Ethan was at a party with his friends. Xana was at, last seen on a guitar at near the Whites. This is all speculation from what we learned so far. Ethan never returned, because we know he never returned to the house. No one ever saw them return to the house. Xana never returned to the house. And allegedly, maybe Ethan and Xana were transported back to the house, and either Madison or Kaylee realized what was going on, and Kaylee is the one who was like, you didn't have to do this. And then they eliminated Maddie, and then they eliminated Kaylee. Okay, this is how they would have to present this to a grand jury. But their death certificates at the time of the grand jury was still pending official certified death. Hear me now? Can you drop a 1 if you can hear me? It did cut out. Yeah, my Starlink. Let me wait till it catches up. If anyone can hear me, drop a 1. Okay. I realized it dropped and stopped my thought process when I saw it drop. Okay. So you do realize when they had the grand jury hearing, they all get together. Members of the community are typically in the grand jury. They sit in there and they say, okay, what are we going to do about this in our town, in our community? So basically, they had to have something in place. They absolutely put death certificate pending. But let's go back to the document I just showed you about they waived, or they, didn't do the preliminary hearing. They canceled it. A preliminary hearing where prosecutors must show a judge that there's enough evidence to justify moving forward with felony charges, which didn't happen in this case, was scheduled to begin on the 26th. But on Tuesday, the grand jury indicted Kohberger on the same criminal charges, effectively rerouting the case directly to the state felony court level and allowing prosecutors to skip the preliminary process. Right there should have been enough to say, you're violating all my rights. you've just violated every single constitutional right that you can imagine, because that means a grand jury reviewed. Yes, they reviewed the evidence in the IDAHO4 case, and they decided that there's enough proof to formally charge Brian Kohberger with the murders. And because of that, the state no longer needs to hold this hearing that had been scheduled. Now, why is this important? Normally, before a case moves forward, there has to be a preliminary hearing. Has to be by law. And they have to sign off on it. Everyone shows up. Everyone says, okay, we're going to have a hearing. This is going to be a pre-hearing. And the judge decides if there's enough evidence for trial. They skipped it. But when a grand jury indicts someone, that step gets skipped. Preliminary hearing, judge decides, case moves to a trial. It becomes grand jury votes. The case directly moves to a felony court for trial. It does save the prosecution time and prevents the defense from hearing or questioning key witnesses early. They shouldn't do that. They shouldn't have allowed this to happen. This was all one-sided. Based on what the prosecutors had to say in that alleged grand jury session, this is speculation, they had to have said, okay, we've got a white Honda Elantra near the house multiple times. The DNA knife sheath allegedly matched Kohberger. The cell phone data placed him near the home, not in the home, but near the home, multiple days before the murders. And the phone turned off either on its own or for battery loss. It could have been an attempt to hide the location. And why would prosecutors choose a grand jury? It is faster, it is secret, stronger position, and it protects witnesses. What? You want to protect witnesses instead of finding the perpetrators? What? That doesn't make sense. But what did this mean for the defense? It means Kohberger loses the chance to challenge evidence early. They bypassed all of his rights. They said, forget it. We're going to pigeonhole you. You're the guy. We don't care what happened in this case. You are the man. You are the individual we are going to blame this on. We are going to charge you. You are not one of our own in our community. And forget what we already know and who's involved. That's a big FU to an innocent, factually innocent individual. When we know humanly that this had to have been more than two people that did this. More than two people. Now, when you go back to the what does this story entail? So obviously, the preliminary hearing, which could have revealed weaknesses in the case that the prosecution had against him, they could have said, oh, this is weak. We have to throw X, Y, and Z out. This is circumstantial. We are never going to, no. And the defense now has to prepare for an arraignment, motions, and trial. And the next step would have been, he would have been arraigned in district court at the felony level, where he'll enter a plea like not guilty. Well, he did. He stood silent. They entered a plea for him, not guilty. Now, if you are watching this and you are on my stream and this is the first time, hit that thumbs up button. That's all I'm asking for you to do. You don't have to drop me, oh, you're so sweet, we bring you the facts, I'm bringing you all the evidence. And I'm telling you why. He had the right to due process, but this had all been removed. They took that away from him. This is like the Salem witch trials, guys. Oh, you're guilty. We saw you doing X, Y, and Z, and you are going to be burned at the stake next. This is what it looks like. It looks like a witch hunt. It looks like we don't care. There is a lack of empathy here. We don't care if you are an autistic man. We're going to throw you in jail for the rest of your life. We don't care how smart you are. We're afraid of you because you've read some books and you know some stuff and you're getting your PhD and, you know, all these books that you've been studying, you know us too well. You know us too well how to buck the system and teach others how to buck the system and stand up for your rights. I mean, look at the books they found. He knows he's going to get railroad. He knows that they've picked him for the fall guy. How does he know? In my humble opinion, he has to be some informant or fed. He has to be. And if he is, he's remained silent because something is going on bigger. And he knew that the job he was doing one day, his government may turn on him. In my humble, speculative opinion. When you take a job and you serve, and then all of a sudden, your job is turned on you, fires you, throws you in jail, targets you, your name is now smeared all over the planet. The only thing left to do is, if you are innocent, is fight like hell or work with them, disappear into society, have a facelift, move your family, sell their house, and go with the plan. Because maybe this was part of a larger operation. That's the only option that I see. We have not heard of any PCR being filed. We have not heard of any of this alleged crazy, I don't want to say crazy, but alleged magical exculpatory evidence that has been all over the place and said over and over and over again. Well, you know what? At this point, where is it? If he's guilty at this point, where is it? It's not in any of these evidence documents, in the forensic documents, in the PD documents, other than them saying, we tried to link him to the case, but he's just not connected. We tried to get it to fit, but it just won't. He didn't stalk anyone. He doesn't know anyone. He wasn't there. We can't place him in the house. He has no DNA, just like John Showalter's own blood was on the bathroom curtains in his hallways, and just like Dylan's coat had been washed and sprayed down. Oops. It's a nothing burger. And the unknown DNA, L5, let's talk about it. Are you all ready for a mind-blowing topic? Now, there are some people out there telling you this L5 latent print in this document is X, Y, and Z. L5, let's talk about it, was a digital image document, well documented in the evidence forensics documents. And it was taken from 1122 King Road. What? Yes. They got some latent prints from 1122 King Road, and they decided to test it. Now I'm going to share this document instead, because it's in my email, because I did some research last night. So, the conclusions and interpretations of L5. These latent prints were previously examined for comparable ridge detail. In the middle of your hand, if you look at your hand right now, what is ridge detail? Does anybody know what ridge detail? Anybody? So there are characteristics on your fingerprints that are called ridge detail. This comes directly out of the forensic book. Let me grab it real quick, and you can see this. Okay. Ridge characteristics, and keep in mind, some chefs, when they get burned, they could really burn their fingerprints off their hands, right? It becomes really sensitive. Any type of injury. When I was in the military, we had to burn classified information. That's the job that I was in. Not only did I handle classified information, but some of the crap jobs that we had to rotate because everybody had to take turns doing burn duty. We'd have to put classified information in an incinerator. Okay. And everything was accounted and documented for, and we had to sign off that we burned the sensitive information. Now, one time I got my hand inside the incinerator, guys. That freaking hurt. And I had third-degree burns on my tooth, fingerprint, my middle finger, and my pointing finger. And on those fingertips, I barely have any ridge detail. So when you get burned like that or injured, basically means that, you know, that print has a significant marker that I no longer have. And it's really easy to identify somebody with those marks. But this is just what ridge characteristics look like. And the reason I'm sharing this is so that you understand what I'm going to say next. The digital images for L5 and 6 were taken. The latent prints, let me put this back up on the screen. The latent prints, L5 and 6, they took for comparison. Well, who was L5? They don't know. That was the simple, unknown male ridge marker. But L6 was actually Kohberger. So what they did is they took latent prints, okay? They took latent prints. L5 was an unknown male, and L6 could have been Kohberger. And I'm going to show you why it could have been. They can't basically say it was for sure. All right? So when you look at L5, Kohberger right here was excluded. But in L6, he was included. But it said included in the table above indicates that the comparison is inconclusive to the available prints. The inconclusive result is due to lack of quality of detail in the print. Now, remember what I told you is the lack of the print. They couldn't match it to be him. They included L6, but then they ruled him out. So it couldn't have been Kohberger. So that means that there are two prints that they still do not know who they were. And this is in the document right here. They included him, but excluded him. They put him in included, but they excluded him because the lack of quality and detail in the print. Let me get to the 5 value. And this was the test markers. The L5, they basically said they launched a remote California DOJ. Now, I don't know why that they put it in California, the Department of Justice, and the search did not return. That means they couldn't find anybody in the California DOJ. I don't know why they specifically were looking at California. Maybe they had some type of tip that led them there. Not sure. Now, maybe they had somebody that was mentioned or some call, some FBI tip, who knows? But they specifically launched it into California DOJ. Nothing came back. They launched it again on the 20th and the 21st, and nothing returned. They also launched 2 separate remote searches in the California DOJ. Is that, hold on a minute. That doesn't mean California. What is Cal DOJ? Is that the document that they use, the Cal DOJ? Shoot. No, it is State Department of California. I wonder if they thought somebody was from, hold on, let me finish this thought process. Hold on. California State Portal, Department of Justice. Who was from California? Who was from California? Other than Olivia. Who was mentioned to be from California? That's interesting. We'll come back to that. We'll circle back. I'm from California. Yeah, we know. Okay, so then two individual search return candidate list, both lists were verified. Okay, only one record designation and only two individual research. Then they compiled the documents the next day and they realized the two remote searches list appeared to be FBI numbers, indicating that those searches went to FBI rather than Cal DOJ. Then they launched another remote. They have a remote service with California DOJ on the 22nd. This search did not return in a timely manner. They contacted obviously the administrator and who retried the search. Nothing came back. It says this latent entry killed all unreturned. Nothing came back on the L5 list. No hit and no other candidates. Result, no hit. That means they didn't get anything on those prints. And here's the breakdown. The latent print L5 was previously entered and searched through the multimodal biometric identification system, MBIS, 10 print database maintained by the state of Idaho Western Identification Network. So that's probably why we're in the Western. FBI, California Department of Justice, where no likely candidates were generated. Now, had this have been a serious criminal that did this horrific crime, if they were a Aryan Knight, if they were a drug dealer, cartel member, a violent offender, a criminal, a hitman, in some shape, form, or fashion, they would have been in one of these systems. And who have I said all along? The only people who are not in any of the systems, most likely, are kids that have had some tough upbringings, and either those who are in college who've never had done anything wrong before in their lives and never in trouble. Ever. Those are and adults that are on the straight and narrow. If you've ever been arrested, your fingerprints are in some database. Okay? I'm just going to give it to the way it is. I'm not going to give you hocus pocus and magic and say that, if you've ever got a passport, your fingerprints are in the system. If you've ever had a background check, your fingerprints are in the system. If you've ever had a top secret security clearance, your fingerprints are in a system. If you've applied for a firearms, your fingerprints are in the system. If you've applied for a daycare position, your fingerprints are in the system. If you've applied for a border patrol job, a police job, FBI, CIA, NSA, your fingerprints are in the system, folks. Nowadays, they're starting to put younger teens in a fingerprint database system. Okay? Everybody eventually in the future, don't know when, don't know how, don't know why, in the future, everybody will be fingerprinted, whether it is to open your phone, the DUI. Yeah. If you've had a DUI, your prints are in the system. If you want to fly and get your a star card or whatever it is, you're going to be in the system. Okay. Yep. Your fingerprints in your hands are when you're born, but remember, you do grow. At the age of 18, you reached probably full growth. So if you're out committing crimes under the radar and you're doing stuff like this, you're not going to get caught. But in the future, when you want to go get a passport or you want to go get a star card or travel or a job working with a federal agency or something of that nature, they're going to run your prints and they're going to say, oh shit, you were at 1122 King Road on the 13th because we now have a hit in our system. You're not going to be running for long. You're not going to be running for long if you did this and you're hiding under the radar. I'm just here to tell you, they will find you. You want to go travel overseas? It's easy to get out of the country if that country is allowing people in their country without seeing a passport. But I'm telling you, like Caleb just said, you're going to get busted eventually. You might be free now, but you're going to get busted. It was not Kohberger's prints in the house. 2 unidentified male, cigarette butts and all. Next time you go buy cigarettes and they're going to ask you for your fingerprint, you're going to get busted. Okay? So they sent the L5. They went nothing. No association with Mage with registered prints. So what do they think? Well, you have to start thinking inside. This was an inside job. Somebody who's never been in trouble. Well, where does that list point? Where does this list point back to? It's not some criminal. It's not some drug cartel that's been caught and back on the streets. Come on, guys, use your head. Let's be the most logical about this. Let's be the most logical. Now, if it was a cop, they would have got something back saying, hey, it's a cop. Okay? Now, they did take it one step further, and they asked each and every individual agency, we want to know. We want you to, search externally. Go externally. Go further. Look at all your cold cases. Look at every single thing that you can think of that we don't have access to and see if you have these prints. This is like a national database hunt for these individuals. Okay? And so it didn't match. This is something next I'll talk about. It didn't match. So the L5 print that was matched, unresolved, the disposition of evidence, L5 was previously marked and preserved, digital imaging comparison are retained, and still nothing. Nothing came back. But there was one latent print from someone they redacted. They know, folks. They know who this one print is. Unredacted documents are gold, but they will never give us unredacted documents. They are protecting an individual whose prints were analyzed and compared to the known exemplars bearing the name ... for and probably 8. And they blacked it out. So it cannot be Brian Kohberger because the results were included in 5 and 6. Those 2 fingerprints could possibly be one individual. What are your thoughts about that? They know the answer. Who are they protecting? Is it factually a police officer, or is it allegedly hoodie guy? Or is it ex-boyfriend, allegedly? Whose name could fit that value right there? Let's take a wild guess. Who do you think this name could be? I don't think it's Nathaniel Rosendahl. It doesn't fit in that redacted name. I don't think it's his print. It says L5 and 6 are value for comparison. The print is not suitable for the MBIS, meaning they've never gotten in trouble before. The latent print was previously searched through the system and no candidates were generated. That means they were off the radar. The latent prints were valued and analyzed and compared to the known exemplars bearing the name XX, and the latent print from the redacted name is L5 and 6. Short first name, long last name. I mean, we can take an educated guess here. We're all smart. We're paying attention. We know the players. And you can see that. It was included, latent print included. Now, it also says that latent prints were analyzed and compared to the known exemplars bearing the names Maddie, Kaylee, Xana, and Ethan. Latent print L5 was entered through the system. No candidates were generated. They did a really deep dive into this fingerprint. Huge deep dive. He was excluded from 5, included in 6, but ruled out. But I will say this, that L5 candidate is the one that harmed, in my humble opinion, allegedly Xana and Ethan, because it included their prints, either on their body or somewhere around them. L5 included Ethan and Xana. L5 was excluded Madison and Kaylee. So L5 is the one that probably hurt Xana and Ethan, in my humble opinion, according to this report. Right there. And when you start looking at L5, you can kind of see the pattern here, L5 and L6. They took the crime scene images, they placed them, they analyzed, they copied them. It was on 11/20/22, and it says very simply, L6, another print next to L6 could be the same print. Very low quality, very borderline value. Could be. It included Kohberger, similar ridge flow present in number 10, some dissimilarity present, but cannot exclude due to lack of distinct details. But they ruled him out. So there it is. Now, who would be so close to Xana and Ethan that would hurt them? And why? Why is that? L5 is not Mowich. I repeat, it's not. Yeah, because we know that didn't he have a criminal background? They would have caught him like no tomorrow, just like Jose Cruz. They would have indicted them in a swift motion. If they knew for sure that this was some criminal and he had profile prints, they would have arrested him on the spot. Do you really honestly think that they would let somebody get away with this long if it was a factual criminal? Remember, Mowich had a record. He had a record. And I will show you, again, his fingerprints were on file in Idaho. Right here. Infraction, criminal record. This dude had prints on file. Okay? Nicholas James Mowich. Driving without privileges, failed to appear. Let's go back and look again. You can go through this. You can go look for yourself. The latest one was an infraction, but the last criminal case in 2017 was, again, failure to have a driver's license. Looks like he has a history of this. No contact order with violation. He was arrested for a no contact order. I guarantee you 100% he had his prints. Battery, domestic violence with traumatic brain injury, misdemeanor. Dude had been arrested. Strangulation attempt. Enhanced persistent violator. Probation. FEE. This guy had his prints on file. I guarantee you, I will bet you $1,000 Mowich is not your guy. And I don't know how many freaking times I have to say it. Not my monkeys, not my circus. And Mr. Glasses, Mr. Ray-Ban, can kiss my behind. I know how men hate to say, oh, women, I don't want to admit they're right. But I'll double down on it. Prove me wrong. Anyways, we do know facts. We do know evidence. They're just probably pissed because we know how to look and find what we need. Yes, he did have a criminal background. Yes, they know. I can get really spicy this morning, but I can't. I've got an appointment I got to get to. Probably a first-time offender. Well, you know what, guys? if it was a first-time offender and they were arrested later and took their prints, I'm sure they would be hot on this individual. But if this individual is being protected, then they're never going to be charged for something someone else took a plea deal for, ever. And I think it was getting close to that during trial. As close as we got during trial, something happened. Yeah, he did run for sheriff and he lost it. He sheriff of somewhere in Washington. Yep. All right, so I hope that Phoenix Fireball, I'm just, to be fair, I'm just an information broker, so I'm collecting as much information as I can, and Phoenix is bringing us facts and evidence. Yeah, I'm just giving to you the way it is. If you want the hardcore truth, you're going to get it here. It might not be in a pretty bow with, me stroking a pumpkin in the background, but I'm just saying, you're going to get the truth. I don't know what was up with that guy. Somebody sent me a screenshot and I'm like, you guys got to stop. You guys are trying to fuel the fire while I'm over here trying to stop the fire, being a bushfire. But when you send me stuff like this and you tell me that, why was this picture stroking a pumpkin in the background over and over? I don't know. But don't send me pictures like this and expect me not to respond, right? I mean, you want a little humor? You got a little humor this morning. You're welcome. And that was free. So, what do you guys think where do we go from here? We want some rainbows, Phoenix. Where do we go from here, right? In our busted series. Well, I know that a lot of people are so upset because we're out sharing the truth about the documents, but I'm going to give you a little wake up call here. I know that it might not be what you want to hear, but I tell you both sides. I've always said that I would tell you both sides. Yes, there was a seat cover that was taken, the bottom cushion of Mr. Kohberger's car. Yes, they removed it and there was a spot of blood, and I will show you that too. I show you both sides, the good and the bad, the dirty, the not so dirty. I'm going to give it to you all. And here is the last bit of information. So there was a seat cover that was removed from his vehicle and it was swabbed and it did show a speck of blood. Okay. Just like I'm going to preface this, just like Dylan's jacket being watched, there was potential positive presumptive from the detective that also sprayed it and said, "Oh, there's nothing there." They ability to test the whole jacket because they sprayed it down with Blue Star. We went over that yesterday. If you've not seen that, go ahead and go back and watch that video. Now, first of all, the bottom seat cushion from Brian Kohberger's vehicle was taken out and they swabbed it. So that would be item 104. And they're going to give you a picture of it and they're going to show you the little speck of blood that was actually found, which is wild because it's just a tiny picture of 104 bottom seat cushion. And it says it was the seat cover, compartment seat cover of the 2015 Hyundai Elantra. And it says that it belonged to suspect pre-logged as Brian Kohberger. And here was the analysis. They removed the fabric seat cover to examine the underside of the cover and the top foam cushion, used a bright light to examine on seat cover, OBS brown gray, red brown stains, and on cushion, OBS black brown stains. I used the light, tested 8 total stains, 6 on the seat, 2 on the cushion. Note, box has holes for carrying, received open holes, insert backs, and the O tall was positive. So here is item 104. They packed it back and they shipped it back. It was positive. So I'm going to go seat cushion and there is a picture attached. Right here, that is the positive. I have the picture in my email. Hold on. I don't think it's going to come up here. It might. Trace material from back of seat cushion. Now, again, it's great to have these documents to be able to read them, but there is no final conclusion. Again, no conclusion to the whose blood is it, whose DNA is it. Obviously, if it was something, they would have made a big stink about it instead of like the knife sheath, right? So when you look through these documents, there's analysis. You have to understand what they were testing, what the test results were. And I'm looking for the cushion. Hold on one second. It should have been attached. Seat cover inspected from vehicle. That's when they took his car apart. Seat cover from vehicle. Candy Florea again. And I'm trying to get to the picture. Hold on. Everything else tested negative from his vehicle. I thought there was a picture attached, guys. Hold on. I think I sent Amanda the picture. Let me see. And I think I marked what page it was. Hold on. Let's see. Amanda, I did send that to you, didn't I? That was something that caught my eye the other day. Just a tiny little bit of speck of blood. Doesn't say whose it was. So then we have another nothing burger. Where the heck is that picture? Shoot. Here it is. All right, here we go. Look at this. And tiny little bit of drop. Did anybody see that picture? Let's see if it'll pop up. Tiny little speck. Let's see. Let me read the chat. I need to know which seat because it could have been simply a girl on the seat. Absolutely. And it doesn't give any indication of what DNA was there, whose blood it was. It could have been his own. He could have been, doing something, scratched himself. Just a tiny little seat. Here, there's the seat. It says, note, tested at the bottom of frame. In the seat, it tested positive for a little tiny piece right here. Right there, folks. And let me do it this way. I'm going to bring it and put it up on the screen so you can see it larger. All right, right there. So in this little tiny speck right here, right at the bottom left of the screen, you can see that it's right here. That tiny little speck tested positive. All the rest tested negative. Negative. Just a tiny, tiny piece. And let me see what page this was. Hold on. Number 22. So let me go number 22. Hold on. Let me find it in the doc and I'll give you the exact page. 22. Item. Item 419. Item 419 is the picture associated with it. Well, let me go back. 419. I don't know. They never said whose it was. Yeah, I had a nosebleed and or a pimple popped. And it was like, what the heck? Okay, so here is the overall analysis of this little tiny speck that tested positive. It said 419, Stephanie Wilt, removed the stains, 15 tested. Hold on, 419. Hold on. Let me go through it again. Right here. Prologue as part of suspect vehicle, gray back seat cushion with foam, reverse side of cushion not examined, received with fabric over detached over foam. And listen to this, negative. They say it tested positive, but when the analysis came back, it said negative. Hold on a minute. Hold on. I got it wrong. Item 419 is the seat back. Hold on. Item 419 is the seat back. Let me get this. Positive was item 418 was the seat cover. Sorry. 418 was the seat cover and it was tested positive. The cushion was negative. So that tells me that was a superficial, probably a small cut, and it doesn't have any DNA. They didn't go back and say research more, do more analysis. It was probably so tiny. They didn't even, they tested 15 stains, one on right front, appears to be consumptive, and then one on the bottom frame, no paneling, all negative. And who knows what it could have been from? We know that he's vegan. It couldn't have been an animal. I mean, I don't know. I'm just saying that little tiny speck tested positive. Tiny, tiny bit. That's like saying, well, the zipper tested positive on, Dylan's jacket, but it was all sprayed with something and now they can't test it. A mosquito could have been, for all we know. I mean, who knows? But like I said, I give you it was the back seat. No, this was the front cushion, wasn't it? Fabric seat cover to examine item 418. Item 418 was the seat cover cushion. A seat cover and seat cushion, VIN number. It doesn't say exactly. This looks like a front cover to me. I don't know about you guys. I could be wrong, but it looks like a front cover. Could it have been the investigator's blood? I don't know. If they don't give an update, I don't believe it. It was clickbait to give mainstreamers something to talk about. Yeah, I'd have to agree with that one. It might have been. Extreme hand washing, could have cracked his hand, could have had an open sore. Who knows? Who knows? I thought the word said back, but it was just me. No, it just said that was 105 was the back seat cushion. The back seat cushion on 105 was positive. The back seat cushion on Kohberger's side vehicle was negative. The back seat was negative. The front was positive. Just a tiny little piece. It could have been planted. It's all, if I question the unthinkable, just like the sheath, could it have been planted? Now that we're getting the, real bigger picture to this, could have been planted at any time. If it was just a tiny bit of drop, was it just a droplet? It looks like just a tiny, tiny speck. Tiny speck. All right. So with that being said, and me finishing the live for this day, I won't be back on later. If I am later live, it'll probably be around 6 p.m.-ish. It'll be a little late in some areas, but one thing that we're going to talk about is the mattress cover protector and a couple of other things that I want to cover in this case. Don't be surprised if I drop another video that is member only, because the member only memberships, I've decided that any member-only membership, I'm going to do a drawing. The holidays are coming up. And I'm also going to have special member emojis and badges. And I'm so excited for you all to see these badges. These badges were made from our nest, our amazing artist in here, Amanda B, shout out. And I'm going to be using her beautiful art for our badges in the nest. So make sure you guys enjoy your day. Get out, get some sun. I know it might be cold where you're at. If anyone is feeling rotten in their body, I pray that you have some good vibes, good healing. And definitely until our next time together, you guys are absolutely amazing. Do me one favor before we all go. Hit the thumbs up and drop some hearts while this music plays. Terry Ann, welcome to the nest. And also Les, welcome again. I'd love to have you back. And we did have somebody else. I don't know where it went. Let me see if I can find it. Where'd you go? Where'd you go? Grammy T, I believe. Grammy T, where'd you go? Oh, that was so long ago. Let's see. I'm going to find you. I'm not giving up, girl. Up, there you go. New member, Grammy T. We love you. Be safe. Be well. Every single one of you drop some hearts on the way out. Love this music. New music November. Be well.
Listen close, we rise up from the ashes, digging for the truth, breaking old habits. We marching with the nesters, they laid the foundation, passed down revelation, sparked our motivation. In a world of facades, we peeling back the layers. Truth is the weapon that cuts through all the fakers. Phonets in our chest, reborn from deception. Eyes wide open, no room for misdirection. Every step we take, we honor the connection between past and present, forging our resurrection. Phoenix rises in truth, setting us free from the lies that they feed. We reclaim our beliefs, thinking differently, we'll break every chain. We dance for freedom, case by case, again. We cultivate vision, planting seeds of awareness, challenge the narrative, break out of the harness, digging deep for knowledge, unearthing the hidden. Our minds are the soil where the future is written, no longer confined by the scripts they prescribe. We write our own story, let the real one subscribe. One voice becomes many, together we rally. Freedom's not a concept, it's a move and a tally. Case, we break the cage. Dark by dark, we shift the stage. Phoenix rises in truth, setting us free from the lies that they feed. We reclaim our beliefs, thinking differently, we'll break every chain. We dance for freedom, case by case, again. Rise up, speak out, watch the new world breathe.